Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com. It's Wednesday, it's May 31st, last day of the month here, and I'm actually coming back to go over what we talked about yesterday since there was no volume. Yesterday was such a great example of how you have to take context from the entire day into account or you're going to miss something. And we had so many people that contacted me about this setup, wanting to know why it failed. But what happened is they got so tuned into this trend line moving down here that they completely overlooked the rest of the day in the context and what was going on. And this is an obvious trading range right here. Look how we're just going sideways. It had clear, let me move this all the way over so you can see. I mean, that's obviously a trading range. Sure, you got a trend line that you can get down through there, and that's important too, but you can't overlook this trading range. And this is 90% of your price action, probably 95% of it. You got one bar that trades down, two little bars there basically, and one big one, and then we just went sideways. So this was your key that you had to be concentrating on. So you draw your highs and lows. So when prices start dropping here, what are you expecting? First, you're going to first measure that leg right there and look for a possible measured move down, but also measure this right here and pull it down and look for your range, your measurement on your range. And so you want to be considering that first. But what's the most important thing that happens when prices break out of a range? You're going to expect prices to come right back and at least test this lower part here and probably try to get back into the range again. We don't ever enter on breakouts with a range. We look to fade those. Uh, so that's what you got to keep in mind. So when prices bounce right here off that lower trend channel that looks pretty valid because it bounced there again, and look how far away we are from the EMA, I'm going to probably go long right there looking to take this back to here. And that would have been a great little quick scalp. And of course it does. It bounces right off that trend line in the EMA again. But that's also that breakout area. It's retesting it. So we're still not really looking to get short though. You would have had a short-term trend line working up through here as well. But notice if you measure this, where does it take you to? It takes you to this level right here. So that's going to be an important level. So even if you went short right there, even if that was a good setup, you don't have room to get out before getting to these levels here. You might this very low here, but you don't want to be entering there anyway because it's just not really time yet. So we do get the close outside and we're going back for the retest of the high. And this looks a lot different than it did yesterday. Yesterday I had a real neutral bar here, and I also had a different bar here. It didn't look nearly like this, but you can't. That was your signal bar at the time. It did go higher and then turn and go out the lower side, and that's a positive. So you got a lower high here. It is off the trend line, but look where you're going short, right into that measured move, and you really only got one more tick by measuring it here. So you've already got two measured legs down. And here's another important part of this. Let me make this a little bigger. Notice what happens here. You got a leg down that really has two legs in it, but that's overall that's one big move down. Then you got a two-legged correction right in the middle. One leg up, pull back, second leg up. So even inside this range, we've still got a leg down that has two legs in it and a two-legged correction. And what normally happens, that's generally the middle of a pattern. So if you measure that and look for your measured move, that puts prices right here. So we've already had two measured legs down to a new low, and we had a failed, and we had one leg down into the trading range, one leg down out of the trading range. So that is another clue that you've already got your two legs, so you're probably going to get two legs in the other direction at a minimum. So there's you another clue that, hey, we may be done to the downside here. But definitely, you don't want to be going short into that support right there. That's the that's the big key. So if you notice that this is a trading range, even though you got a trend channel working down here, what happens a lot of times on a trading range? Do I have to? I shouldn't have to tell y'all the answer to that. Everybody should know that unless you're brand new. Generally, when you break out, when you're in a trading range, the retest rules don't work out because the range takes precedence, and you can see that 95% of the day's price action had been inside that range. Yeah, there's a leg down there, but there's only about 3 bars in that move us into this trading range, and then all the rest of your price action's inside there. So this is the key pattern here, and you can tell that it played out when prices dropped lower, because it did push a little lower there, but when it came back down and tried to bounce again, or go lower again, I should say, it bounced. And it bounced right at that measured move down from what you had earlier in the range using those closes. And that's, so if you had seen that, it'd probably make you a little hesitant to go short there. Plus, even if you had it down here, you still don't have room to scalp out. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 ticks. There's a chance you get that 4-tick failure there. And you didn't even get that. It was a 3-tick failure. It went 3 ticks and then bounced. But that's because it had already played out. Everything had already played out. You already had your 2 legs down, and now you're going to probably get 2 legs up. And notice you got 1 leg right here, and lo and behold, a 2-legged correction in the middle. So that means you're probably going to get at least a measured leg back up. And look at there, it got a measured leg and it corrected and it bounced off the low again and moved back to the eye of the range. It tells you the range is in play. This was very straightforward if you saw it. If you didn't see it and you're just concentrating on this channel that's working down in that trend line, it's easy to get tricked right there. And this is just a short trap. That's all this is. It's not a failed perfect setup that failed or anything. It's if you look at the overall context, you see it's just a short trap. It bounced at support where you would expect there to be strong support. So I can understand why a lot of you got trapped there. Even a good solid price action trader, if they're not paying attention, could get trapped right there. So that's not easy to see if you're not paying attention to this range. So I hope that's helpful. I don't know what happened to the volume or the audio yesterday on the video. It just wasn't there. It wasn't even on the video. I don't know if it was something in my processing, or if I forgot to turn on my headphones, or if the headphones just didn't make a connection. They're wireless headphones. So I don't know what happened. I was as shocked as the rest of you when I started getting some notices that there was no audio, and I went back and checked the original video and no audio there either. So I was trying to rush to get it done and get it out, and I just probably screwed up and didn't turn my headphones on or something. I don't know what happened, but I apologize. But it was so important talking about this that I felt it was worth going back and talking about again. So I'm going to upload this in place of it, and hopefully that's helpful. I'm still going to try to do a video at closing today, or a chart lesson. I'm not 100% sure. I got so much on my mind trying to get ready to get out of here and head on our trip. But a couple of things I talked about in yesterday's video, and just in case I don't get another one later today. But I'll be leaving, definitely no chart lesson or anything on Thursday or Friday. Today will be the last day for sure for anything like that. So for the next all next week, for the rest of this week and all next week, no mid-morning charts posted on the website, and no chart lessons. I will also ask you to please hold any questions about trades or charts, because I won't be looking at them. I won't have time, and I just hate to come back to something that's 2 weeks old and having not seen the chart and having not traded that day. I won't be that familiar with it, and so it'd just be easier if you would please hold your questions and stuff until I get back. That would be helpful. It'd be very helpful for me, so I don't come back to 500 emails that are really hard to go back and research old charts and things like that to see what might have happened or where you might have slipped up. So just if you can, just make the best of it till I get back. And I'll be back in the office on the 12th of June, barring any travel. If our travel's smooth coming back, I'll be back on Sunday, and I'll be back in the office on Monday the 12th. We have had a few instances over the years where we get delayed coming back due to flights canceling or things like that. So, knock on wood, hopefully we won't have any issues like that, and I'll be back in the office Monday, and we'll pick up where we left off today. So I think that's pretty much it. And again, if I don't talk to you again later this afternoon, I hope everybody has a good week next week. And I think that's going to do it. So I hope this was helpful. And again, I hate that I had a really good chart lesson yesterday. This is a good lesson though, so I felt it was important enough for me to come back and redo and re-talk about yesterday, simply because this is a great learning opportunity of how you have to look at the overall context. We are not pattern traders, and I have to tell new people that all the time. They come in here and they just start looking for these patterns that we talk about, and they can't understand why they're not working. But they don't have any clue of how to look at the overall picture. They're just not that. They're not at that point yet. It's not that they won't be able to eventually do that, but they just get confused and think we're just looking for these patterns, and that anytime they see that pattern they want to enter, and then they fail, and they wonder why they failed. And one other thing I want to talk about too, real quickly, that I talked about yesterday was a lot of people get confused on the EMA rule. Yes, generally when prices are consistently below the EMA, you don't want to be going long, and when prices are consistently above the EMA, but that's in trend mode. When prices are trending, that rule will hold true, but that rule is not 100%. On range days like this, you have to buy the lows. That's the only way to enter, is to buy. Just look if you'd have bought any of the lows yesterday. There were only a few of them. All of them were winners. And if you sold any of the highs, all of them were you would have been good with all of them, except late in the day when you got to this stuff right here, and you don't want to enter in that stuff. So if you'd have sold any of these touches of the upper side of the range, it was an easy trade. I love these kind of days because they're just so predictable. But that means you have to go long below the EMA on a range day, and you have to go short a lot of times above the EMA on the range day. So don't get confused and think that because prices are up here above the EMA, you can't go short. And don't think you can't go long down here because prices are below the EMA. That rule is generally on trend days. When prices are trending and consistently all day long below the EMA, you don't want to be going long into the EMA. Even then, the first break above the EMA is generally good for another short down once the correction is over, because prices are going to go retest that low on a strong trend day. And the trend might even pick back up again. You might get a little correction only to see a new trend develop and another downtrend start all over again, or vice versa if it's moving up. So make sure you understand that, because people get confused on that. People will send me, that was below the EMA. I thought you couldn't go long there. But if you understand price action, you understand that there are times you have to go long below the EMA and short above the EMA, or you're never going to get a short or trade that day. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Not sure if we'll have another chart lesson today. Maybe, maybe not. But either way, today's going to be the last day until you won't see anything from me until June the 12th. So again, hope everybody has a great week next week. I'm out of here. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.